It does not make sense for a nonviolent drug offender to be getting 20 years, 30 years, in some cases life imprisonment.
At the end of every presidency, there are always multiple stories of presidential pardons. The crimes vary, but sentences for drug offenders, especially nonviolent offenders, tend to get a lot of media attention. Let's take a look at the history of the war on drugs in modern America and how each president addressed the problem. President Barack Obama commuted the sentence of 34-year-old Eugenia Jennings in 2011, 2 years into his presidency. It was his first commutation. By November 2016, President Obama had granted over 1,000 clemencies, meaning that he had officially forgiven more sentences than the past 11 presidents combined. But where did all this start, and why is it necessary to commute sentences? In 1971, President Nixon stated that America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive. Then he created the DEA, or Drug Enforcement Administration, and the war on drugs began. The war on drugs continued throughout Gerald Ford's presidency. Ford tackled the drug problem in the U.S., but made sure to make a distinction between non-dependence-producing drugs like marijuana. President Jimmy Carter also saw the importance of making this distinction. Carter campaigned on decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of marijuana. He took his campaign promise to Congress in a 1977 speech. In this speech, Carter explained that the possession of a drug should not be more damaging to the individual than the drug itself. Carter's desire to decrease drug use was evident, but he believed that decriminalization was a better way. When Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, the issue of drug use once again became a priority. With that came First Lady Nancy Reagan's Just Say No anti-drug campaign. During this time period, the nation was adopting DARE, Drug Abuse Resistance Education, a program started by Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates. Gates will go down in history for saying that casual drug users should be taken out and shot. When President George H.W. Bush came into office, he continued to support this ongoing war on drugs. President Bill Clinton was no different. He once advocated for treatment over punishment, but eventually passed tough-on-crime legislation. Following this was the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, which introduced the controversial Three Strikes Law. From Clinton, we saw President George W. Bush rapidly increase the militarization of the drug war. President Obama took office in 2009 and leaves behind a legacy of advocating for nonviolent drug offenders.
By exercising these presidential powers, I have the chance to show people what a second chance can look like, that I can highlight the individuals who are getting these second chances.